All right, so WAL 506 is in the books. I guess we're going to check back in. I know we did our predictions, I guess, about a month ago for this event. So we all got to watch it or / participate in it. A lot of stuff to talk about, I think, in this one. We obviously got Storm Chalino and Sam Harris who participated in the event. And I guess we're gonna go ahead and just talk about some of the more controversial things that happened, and also walk through the matches as they took place. So Sam was there for the whole thing. I know Storm and I watched live, so we had the perspective of a fan for this one, and Sam has the perspective of a competitor who took part. So Sam's probably going to be doing the majority of the talking, and I know Storm and I have some questions we want to ask, and some things that we were a little unclear on as far as how they went down. So I guess we can go ahead and start off with any thoughts from Sam, and then we'll go into the Gabi and Sarah match.
Yeah, I thought it was a great match, like a great tournament. So everything was the same thing as last year, but they had a lot of new things that were interesting. So they're always improving and improving. So, they're working hard there as far as just, always trying to get better. So,
right. So as far as the field as compared to last year, I know both of you guys were there last year for the finals. So what were the big improvements or changes?
So like one of the things is like they actually had a lot of actual fans there. So where they had all their, clothes, food, where all the people could hang out before the event started, was actually like a lot of local fans showed up. So I was actually cold and I needed to go get a jacket, and I go get a jacket, and then all these people were coming up to me saying, hey, good luck, we think you're awesome, this and that, like total fan, stopping. You got to take a lot of pictures with people. And it was just, like the sport's really growing. And that was one of the biggest things I noticed there is the crowd being more, fans, And then even like the after party, there was fans there that just found out where the after party was, came to hang out, and, just kind of wanted to, get to know us a little bit better. So that was really cool.
Right. That's awesome. And that's something that wasn't so much a thing last year. What was your take on last year's Storm?
So obviously going back to the fan thing and what Luke Kent kind of exposed during the venue, I mean, if everyone remembers that, he called everyone out for fake fans, but I thought the whole production there in Atlanta was kind of a step above any events that I've attended with WL during the Super Series. Just the whole, the production room, it's massive. It's very professional. The way you enter was, you felt like almost like a superstar. You didn't feel like a normal, arm wrestling tournament where you just kind of, come in to compete. You really felt the energy of the whole event. It was just so professional.
I can say from the fan perspective, taking a look at both of these events, they're very aesthetically pleasing. And I think even in comparison to some of the regular, 1 through 5, each season, it seems like they definitely go all out for the finals. More interviews, more backstories, the people in the stands. I mean, that was noticeable. They somehow found a way to get people holding signs and things like that. Whether that's prompted or not, it's definitely, I think, in a step in the right direction for really professionalizing the sport. So, I mean, I thought from my perspective, BR Live ran totally smooth. There was no hiccups at all whatsoever. Played it on the big screen TV, and it looked like something you would watch if you were just watching ESPN. So it was definitely production quality. I thought was great. And I know that this event probably has the most amount of controversy, like from my perspective, of anyone. You know, we've seen controversy with King's Move and everything else before, but this one has so many levels of it, and I know that's something that we definitely want to touch on. And we had some questions for Sam because there was a ton of controversy around the weight aspect of his match and what really transpired to take it from a hammer match to just a regular match. So we're not going to get to that piece to the very end, and we'll try and walk through the matches now and kind of save that for the end and let Sam kind of speak in a monologue fashion about what exactly happened. So I guess, you know, in an effort of keeping this to a short time, let's go ahead and move right into the Sarah Backman and Gabi Vasconcelos match. Sam, first off, so I think I picked Sarah.
I did too.
Just because of the known quantity. But after watching the training, I've seen some of the stuff Gabi was doing was absolutely incredible. But then Sarah was like matching it, like, you know, 60-inch box jumps, and they're climbing ropes reverse and like crazy things that I can't do. So I think that swayed my opinion a little bit. But I mean, from our perspective, what a dominant performance. What did you see when you were there, Sam?
Well, to correct you, Paul, you actually picked Gabi. Me and Storm picked Sarah, but you're 100% right on as far as their performance. Right in the beginning, so WL is just a little bit different, and I feel like every athlete needs to come try it out. And you know, they might not they're not that great their first time. Well, Gabi kind of showed a little different. Like, she must have really done her homework, because it looked like the first time Sarah might have broke her wrist back, Gabi still got it. You know, the pin was just pure power, and there was 2 elbow fouls. So, they replayed it, slow-mo, that type of thing. So she had 2 pins, 2 elbow fouls in the third one. And then later to hear from Sarah, sounds like she got a little bit injured, and I'm not exactly sure what it was, but between like her shoulder and her, you know, the chest area in there. And from what I was told, like, it was kind of like she felt it, and she knew it was bad, but still fought it out every time. But like Gabi, there wasn't like no hole in her game. She brought it, and she is going to be a super, super serious threat. I think she's going to make her home in WAL just like she did in the WAF. And she's going to be someone that they're going to be trying to find people, females, to beat her. Like, I think she's a person, you know, she's going to be a champ in WAL like she is in the WAF.
No, she dominated that match. I mean, even the third match, not the third match, but, you know, after the 2 fouls, it looked like she just slow pulled Sarah right down. I don't know when that injury occurred, whether it was in, you know, the first round, second, or whatever, but just every match looked like pure domination. It actually kind of shocked me. I wasn't really aware of what level of an athlete she was until this.
Right, super impressive. And I thought, you know, even her post-match interview, she seemed very articulate. She seemed to have like a low level of energy about her, where she could easily, you know, be crowned a hammer holder and hold it for a long time and make a lot of fans. I think there's really not a whole lot there to not like, you know. And I thought she was very sportsmanlike when she was given those 2 fouls, because that was a piece that really stuck out to me. You know, we started hearing the terminology of the eye in the sky, like you hear it in like a pro football game for reviews and things like that. And the first elbow foul might have been a foul, but it was very, very slight. And I know we've seen a lot of fouls like that go overlooked in the past and even in this event. And then on the second match, where it looked like Sarah had already tweaked something and was almost conceding the match, Gabi got fouled again. I was scratching my head at that. You know, it just seems like it stood out to me like, you know, a lot of the fouls that kind of get overlooked. And here we're talking about an elbow foul from a perspective of straight down, where we can't even tell how low the wrist was at the time. You know, the wrist could have been buried and then we see the elbow coming off. I mean, I think all of us have pinned people and come off the pad after the pin. I mean, that's part of the pin. So that really stuck out to me as something that was kind of strange, but it was definitely cleared by the third win. Gabi outside of the straps just was in total control. But super impressive.
Even going forward for her, I mean, I'm not really familiar with, Sarah's history against Fia or I think it's Malin Kleinsmith. I probably butchered that name, but I mean, I'm not sure how Sarah matches up with them or how, either one of them would fare against Gabi. But I mean, just from judging this last match, I don't know if there's any other woman in WAL that seems to present that, kind of power.
Well, I know there was some questions about their weight and what they wanted them to come in at, if they were supers, if there was going to be a cap or whatever. And I don't really know the details on that. I think I heard some talk about that. There was a lot of talk around that early on as to, why would they have to cut or did they have to cut or whatever the case may be. But I would think that Mylan and Fia would struggle with her if she's at her walk around weight because she just looks super powerful. Like, I think that there's a lot of guys that would be in trouble with her.
Right, and I did get to talk to Sarah a little bit, and they were actually cutting for Nemiroff, and she's going down to 165. So the whole weight thing was not that anyone, they kind of decided that, between Sarah and Gabi. And then as far as Fia and Madeline, or whatever her name is, Sarah's like their big sister. Okay, they're not going to beat her. I think Sarah's on a whole different level, and they're going to have to find people, across seas. Canada has one that could, potentially give her a match, but I feel like Sarah already beat her, Heidi. But they're going to be finding people across the pond to hang with Gabi and WAL.
Like, that was my big question. Like, who the heck are they going to get to pull this girl? She's unbelievable. Like, I mean, and you want the matches to be competitive. And, you see her win that decisively over arguably, the greatest female arm wrestler of our time. It begs the question, like, what's the future going to be for her? Is there going to be any match?
It brings another question. Should you have, say, a 150 and lower for women's, weight classes, and then just have an open weight class where there's, no weight cutting? Kind of like, how the men's is divided in 3, give the women 2 weight classes. Because, I mean, you do have, I would say, a fair amount of lightweight arm wrestlers that are very talented, just within the States, Canada. I mean, there's certain countries that stick out, like Sweden, and, I mean, if no one's going to touch Gabi in, like, the heavier weight, you're going to eliminate a lot of these lighter weight women from having a chance of getting a hammer.
Right.
I think they need 3 hammers in the women, just like they do the men. Light, medium, or light, middle, and heavy, weight.
I do like that idea, but I just see with the limited amount of matches that even we're getting in the middleweight and other ones, like pulling once or twice a year. I mean, are you going to be able to present that many different matches within a season to give them all, a good justification for a hammer match? So I think even with 2 hammers, I think that's, pretty, I guess you'd say, a pretty good start. And then, if you think you need to, break it up into 3 classes, go from there. But at least, do a trial year with just 2 hammers.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're right. The playing field is just kind of so small for women unless you bring some more women over from overseas. But I think it's kind of important to have those weight classes kind of similar to what we do for men, just to keep the matches close too. But I think we spent a good bit of time on that match. So let's go ahead and move forward to the middleweight match, which was Justin Bishop and Rob Vision Jr. I think we all kind of nailed this one, and with the 3-1 prediction. And I don't
3-0. I don't think Justin will win.
Right, and you know, I would, you know, I said 3-1, kind of hoping he would pull off exactly what he did. You know, so Storm, go ahead. I mean, what are your thoughts on this match? I know you pulled both of these guys. These have been some of your last few matches. But I thought from my perspective, I thought Justin was extremely impressive for even being able to get to the weight that he did and the size that he did, and definitely keep the match competitive.
So Justin definitely impressed me with how he arm wrestled RVJ. He seemed to be very technically sound. I mean, Justin is a smart arm wrestler. He's one of those arm wrestlers that, you know, he doesn't just memorize moves and go up there and do them. He's able to, you know, feel the grip, adapt, and do, you know, whatever he needs to do to, you know, usually, you know, be competitive against his opponent or, you know, win. RVJ is, you know, right now he is the hammer holder. I know from experience pulling him that he has, you know, a lot of horsepower. The fact that Justin even got one win on him, I'm very impressed with that. You know, whether RVJ said, you know, he needed the punch in the face to wake up and get going, it was just still impressive that Justin was able to pull that off. I didn't really see the match going any different than that, no matter which way it looked, but I mean, hats off to Justin. He got a win on him. That's, you know, not many people could say they even got a win on RVJ ever. I give Justin big props for that, and, you know, congrats to RVJ that he got the hammer, and just know that I'm still training for him, and hopefully I get the match next year.
Right, he didn't get too wild afterwards either. He seemed pretty calm and composed. And they definitely showed a lot of mutual respect. I mean, they both were total class acts, especially Justin. What were your thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, Justin definitely, he had something to prove. And it actually doesn't surprise me that he got a win on him. And Justin, they both weighed in the exact same weight. So that is like the biggest Justin you see. And he showed it. He looked big. But, you know, our RVJ, you know, he got that loss, and you could tell, you know, he didn't like it. So, you know, then he started adjusting and stuff like that. And you know, he's RVJ. And so, you know, Justin tried hard and he fought hard, but our RVJ is just a little bit better than Justin right now.
I know Justin mentioned at the end about, you know, he felt like he was comfortable side pressure for side pressure. But it seemed like he was really struggling to navigate the hand size of RVJ. But I mean, I thought Justin's side pressure, especially when he initiated, looked really, really good. And I think, you know, that slight advantage that Ryan had, you know, his hands and fingers so long, and his bicep is so stiff. But yeah, I mean, Justin looked absolutely great.
It definitely looked like the biggest Justin Bishop we've seen to date. And I mean, I know I have a lot of problems gaining weight, and it seems like Justin has a lot of problems gaining weight. So I give him a lot of respect that he was able to gain that much size. I know how hard it is to gain weight when you do any type of labor job, or it just, you know, when you're on a time crunch.
All right. Sam, did you get to pull with any of these guys at the after pool? Any of you guys show up?
I did get to pull RVJ. Which is after pulling, so that's here or nor there. But, you know, always good to grip out with some of these guys and just kind of feel them out. And RVJ's super big hand and stuff like that. But yeah, fun. It was a great after. You know, the after, you know, get-together is normally really fun, and it was a blast.
That's the best part. That's the best part of this event.
Yeah, it is. It is really good.
Yeah, that's the perfect time for Max Talbin to try and steal a win on you when Alex is there in Arm Wrestling TV. Yeah, so hopefully Alex is there for that one, for this one too, for the after pool, so we can see some of that stuff. But I guess what match we want to go to next?
Devon and the Brazilian
Wagner.
Wagner.
All right, so obviously, one thing I wanted to mention about the two previous matches, I noticed that the pins, it seemed like RVJ and Justin, it seemed like they really had to bury their opponent to pin them. So it just seemed like the pins weren't getting called early. That really stood out to me in both the women's match and that match, and even yours, Sam. But and I think that's something that we'll probably touch on in some of the future matches. But I think, it stuck out to me when I was watching. Like, wow, we were really having to bury them low. But the Wagner and Devon match, obviously, everybody who's tracking this stuff saw, the day before, Devon and Wagner grip up and pull what appeared to be very, very hard for about 10 seconds, I guess, after the weigh-in. Were you there for that, Sam?
I wasn't there for that, and it actually surprised me to see that they were pulling and then that hard. I think it was just you do a grip up for everyone to see, this is about what's to happen. And then I think they actually started pulling hard. And Wagner was a little red in the face, and Devon's his arms opening up a little bit. And I was like, wow, which is super cool. I loved all of it. But, you got to be careful. Competitor to competitor, you grab a hold of the guy in the right arm. I would love to do that with my, my competitor, just kind of grip up and see all of that. But you're taking a risk every time you do it, I feel.
I think Devon benefits when he does it, though.
My gosh. Sure, for sure. If you had to pull Devon for your house, the deed to your house is on the line, and he goes to shake your hand before that match, are you even going to let him touch your hand? I wouldn't even let the guy touch me.
You don't even go stand in the same room with him. Doing some mental warfare or something.
Right. No, I thought, I picked Devon. I think we all picked Devon, right?
I picked him, but I didn't think he was going to win in that fashion. I thought there was going to be some sort of, I almost thought King's move where he was going to have to be, and much more, just real and tight. He wore Wagner down and Grandpa handed him. I was in shock. I was very impressed by the fashion that he won in. I didn't foresee Wagner being, that easily dominated. I mean, we saw what happened when he got his press, and even after he was exhausted. I mean, Devon was kind of giving up a lot there, and obviously, I think he gave him that win. But in the same aspect, I mean, Devon looked, bigger than I think we've ever seen him. That might be the biggest Devon we've seen to date. Yeah. But he seems so powerful.
Yeah, 277. And I think we're all pretty, we're fans of Devon. I think anybody involved in the sport's kind of a fan of Devon for sure. But before I started hearing about Wagner, I started thinking, oh my gosh, this dude is a monster, and I probably picked wrong. But after seeing them pull the day before, I think I changed my mind. Sam, what did Wagner look like in person?
He looked like his upper body seemed big, but he honestly didn't look like a 300-pound dude. So I'll compare him to Dave Chafee. A Dave Chafee 300-pound would kind of dwarf him in different ways, I think. But so we'll go back to Devon. Devon looked huge. When I seen Devon there, showed up at the event, seen Devon, I was like, man. And just his arms and everything, he just looked huge. Biggest Devon I've seen for a long time. And I figured he would have to go in a hook, but I thought, just full commit, just slamming the hook. But it seemed like he didn't even have to, he wasn't just firing off first. He just kind of slowed everything down, and he just held him with ease. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, it was definitely. He definitely brought the Brazilian, to be there, in person, to see him. He's so fiery and get so worked up. That was awesome to see.
I love that match. I thought it was overall very entertaining. I really hope Wagner gets more opportunities to pull in WAL. I thought it was I think he's just an entertaining, high-energy person.
Absolutely.
it's kind of tough because he has to make his debut against Devin Larratt, who is the biggest version of himself and who has a healthy left arm. And then he's fighting a lot of things. You know, he's got the language barrier there. He obviously had a hard time communicating with Bart. So that puts him at a disadvantage. And then the WAL format puts him at a disadvantage. And then not to mention that Devin is the absolute best technician that there probably is out there. But I mean, so you think Devin gave him the flop wrist press there? Because I felt like that was legit. It really looked legit, and it really looked like had Wagner gone to that early before he was blown up, and you know, he really didn't even come. He didn't attempt to come back to it. He kind of just hung on, and Devin sunk the hook in deep, and then Dad moved him, which.
So I think Devin was kind of just, you know, hanging out. Like, you know how Devin likes his opponent to pin himself? Wagner got to a good position, so Devin was in a position he wouldn't normally have been into. And I think once Wagner really got committed to a press, Devin was like, holy shit, and, you know, either he would fight 110% and wear himself out and potentially end up losing afterwards, or he just, you know, he really couldn't hold on to that bottom position. But I don't think he would have ever got that far out of position knowing it was going to go, you know, that way. I think it was just, he was just goofing off, you know, just, you know, I don't think he would have ended up in that position if he was arm wrestling seriously.
Right. No, I thought the match was super entertaining. I thought it was good. Is there anything else that you noticed from that match, Sam? Did you get to talk to Wagner at all? Interact with him?
I don't speak Portuguese, you know. No, I mean, I said hi to him. It was nice to meet and everything, but no, we didn't do any conversations.
What about Devin?
Oh yeah, sure. I always talk with Devin, and we hung out. Yeah, he's looking to prove himself in a few, not only left hand, but he's looking to prove himself right-handed too. And the way he's looking now, you know, I think next year will be even more exciting than this year for a lot of different people, you know, including him, Devin. Yeah.
So that brings up a good point, and maybe you know something we don't know after being able to talk to Devin and be around them guys. Now, obviously, this is the debut left-handed match. So there's two things kind of that I was thinking first about that match. After the end, Devin's doing his interview and everything, and he's talking about like the two guys who were pulling for the hammer right-handed, and he was saying he felt like at that time in his current state that he would have, you know, he beat both of them on that day. So does that mean his right arm is totally healed? Because I know, you know, there was question of who was going to get the hammer match, and I know Devin had the right arm injury. Did he say if he was healed up?
He definitely had, you know, a little bit of problem with his right hand, and you know, he really thought the two guys there deserved to be there in the finals, and I think he's just looking to get the best version of him, the strongest. And before he steps out there to reclaim the hammer, I think he wants to really, you know, be the best he can, and he wants to take the hammer, not just, you know, he don't want no second guessing or whatever. He really wants to come in and take it. So, and that's like each competitor, they want to make sure they're dialed in.
Right.
And, you know, I think that's what he's going for.
Right. So the other thing that I meant was talking about these matches with Dave Morocco and a couple other people, and I think most people would say, you know, left arm. Those questions was Devin going King's move. Everybody's worried about the King's move. Did he have a left-handed King's move? Was he going to King's move? Whatever. But I think Devin kind of put all that to rest. I mean, he stood tall. He pulled inside. He stopped Wagner in his power. I thought he looked extremely powerful, and he looked like the version of Devin that I think we saw, you know, years ago, where if he stopped the match, that he was going to inside grind you out, which I thought was very, very impressive. But the next piece to that is what does that left-handed match, does that lead to anything else? I don't know if you were able to talk to Steve Kaplan or any of the powers that be. Is there any inside info or speculation as to what's going to happen with the left hand?
Yes, that opens up the world for left hand. That was their introduction to it. and you've seen how everybody reacted to it. Everybody loves it. And you're going to be able to pick out, pick people here and there that are just great with left-handed, and then you're going to be able to find these guys in the lightweight, in the middleweight, in the heavyweight. So that just opens it up so much bigger. They can do the exact same thing they're doing with the right hand with the left hand, and maybe even like the left hand that just happened, Wagner. He is so interesting, and he's dominant left hand. You'll find all these individuals that are so entertaining. So the left hand has every bit of and then speaking of one left-handed guy, the Travis dude. Isn't he one of the most entertaining guys? Now you open up a whole other can of worms, and he's licking his chops there, just waiting to come in at WAL, I'm sure.
Right. We might get to talk to him here shortly. Hopefully, we'll get his opinion on that in the next maybe the next time we make a video or something. But yeah, I think that's awesome. I know Storm's probably chomping at the bit to get that left arm on the table for sure.
Yeah, I got to get my right-handed win on RVJ first. That's my my priority. Lefty will fall into place.
Right. Right. So I guess that's going to take us into our heavyweight hammer match, right? So
big controversy there.
Big controversy, right? And I think everybody here probably has opinions on that, possibly differing. So that's Michael Todd and Jerry Cataract for the hammer, and this is a rematch to a match where Jerry won. Was probably the longest and most grueling match I've ever witnessed. And when I say that, I don't mean like just one of them. I'm talking about every single, every round, every restart, everything. And the match kind of turned out to be fairly similar, but some different things happened. So Sam, if you want to go ahead and walk us through what you saw from your perspective.
Well, the match definitely lived up to what everyone thought it was going to be. And a lot of times when you think of Michael Todd and you think of making a prediction, you go 3-1 or 3-2. That's hard to say that prediction with Michael's style, because normally he steals one, he steals them all. But not with Jerry. It definitely came out to most of us kind of picked Michael, and it was a 3-2. The thing that was really threw a curveball into it is the stinking strap. The strap just, it didn't ruin it, but it just, everyone didn't want to see it end like it did, and a lot of people are kind of blaming on the strap. Like, both of the dudes fought like they were supposed to. But the more the strap separated, Jerry, it was harder for him to finish, and I felt like it was helping Michael Todd be to where he wouldn't get pinned, and him trying to come around and get his press in against Jerry's press. So as a ref, and Bartwood is a very good ref, and he played it 100% smart. He couldn't stop the match, and everyone's seen the strap. Like, everyone's just like, what do you do? Because there's no rule saying we stopped the match at this point or anything like that. So, I mean, it just went like it did, and then that was just the worst thing to see. Like, no one knew what to do. And their strap doesn't help anything either. That thin little strap is the worst. I've thought this for many years. They should get rid of it to a thicker strap, would help some of that. But I feel like if they would have called it and stopped the match, it would have hurt Mike a little bit, because he kind of climbed like he was supposed to, and he had it to where he could almost switch into his press. So it would have hurt Mike a little bit, but then it would have helped Jerry. Right. So no one gained ground there, and then except the elbow fouls and stuff. So tell me kind of what you guys thought, there.
Right, that's what I was going to ask for. So first off, I know this match was 2-2 coming into the fifth round, and I'm trying to remember because I only watched it one time, so I didn't get a chance to review before this. But let's recap, if you can, if you remember, Storm, how things went, because I know there were some things that jumped out to me about just the overall arm wrestling of both guys, and then, just some of the pins and how they went down.
So I remember that first pin that Jerry got was quick. Yeah. I don't know if, Mike was just trying to get ready to drop into a King's move, or he just wasn't engaging the right pressure, but Jerry got that pin, awfully fast. If I remember right, the rest of the matches, were all long, drawn out. I think Mike got one good transition to a press on all of them. The rest of them were the other two were, as you expect, long, drawn out wars. But, I think the biggest topic was how that last match went down.
Right.
I only got to watch it the once live, but I didn't see that first foul that Jerry got when it was, how they did the over the table view. I didn't see that foul. It probably did happen. I just didn't see it. And then the second foul, it was pretty obvious. And where they called the third foul, where he didn't put his elbow back to the table, that is in the rules.
Right.
None of us were happy with the way the match was called, because we all wanted to see how it really, truly would have went down. You can't be mad at Michael Todd because, he wanted to play it by the rules. But you can't be mad at Jerry either, because, there was so much emotion, so much energy, intensity going on during that match. Both those guys probably gave more in that one match than some arm wrestlers gave in their whole career.
Right.
For me, though, I've actually was in a similar situation. Back in 2016, me and RVJ were going against each other in Chicago. I beat him fair the first, I think, 2 matches. Third match, I beat him on fouls. I wasn't ready to win on fouls. I'm just, to me, I don't want to go there and win on fouls. I want to figure out who the better arm wrestlers at that time. I don't want there to be controversy. I want to know in my mind that I truly was the best arm wrestler. I ended up actually losing to RVJ in Chicago in 2016 because of that. But I went home knowing, I could have made improvements and I wasn't the best arm wrestler at that time. And, to me, I still think if Michael Todd wanted to prove that without any argument that he came in there that night, he was the best arm wrestler, he should have said, all right, screw that foul, let's go again. So the way he kind of, stormed off and presented the way he was, I wouldn't say I lost respect for him, because, he came, he showed up, and he battled like a champion would. I just feel, I don't know, I just felt like there should have been, that little extension. Him and Jerry went to war with each other. Show that respect and finish the match out. You came there, you put probably 20 minutes on the table between them both. But in another aspect, if you're really going to war with somebody, you win at all costs.
Right. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. And there's 2 sides to this story. There's 2 sides to that. Some of the biggest complaints about the WAL is the lack of the enforcement of rules. So, earlier in the season, Sam retained the hammer against Jeff Hale on fouls. So, and to me, the enforcement of the rules, a third foul, it's the only thing that creates credibility, in the league. But the side to that is, I think every one of us there, and Sam probably included, wanted to finish that match, and I don't even know if that was Michael Todd's motivation to not want to finish the match, but I think it seemed to me, from my perspective and knowing that he was more bent on this aspect of this is the same scenario with these the restarts on fouls that we're not supposed to have. We're supposed to be in a running foul system. And I think he reflected back to Devon and Dave. But the first thing that stood out to me watching it from my couch was some of the pin line depth things. On Jerry's flash pin, we had no rear angle of how deep Michael's wrist was. It seemed like, in comparison to the previous matches, that was a very early pin call. Now, depending on the league, it might get called right away, but it seemed like on that day, the pins were deep until that one. I noticed that. Also noticed that this is the two fouls thing, the runner and the restart happened prior. I think that was in the match 3, where Jerry got a runner and they restarted the match, and Bart said, "Well, Michael, you stopped pulling." And I can't help but think that both of those guys were blown up. If somebody raises their elbow, there's probably a whole lot of play when they're not really driving. And Michael said, "I didn't stop pulling," and I don't think he was lying. I think there was just that much play, and he was so gassed out that I don't think that he stopped pulling. I don't think that was a mistake that he made, but maybe that's what Bart perceived. And then obviously how it ended up. A lot of people have some things to say about that. So, Sam, what's your opinion on it, and what did you see live? Because we got to see what the camera showed us, not what was actually going on.
So, what I think happened the first match when Jerry got that fast pin, I think Michael tried a new move on him. Clearly didn't work. Michael did exactly what I thought he would do. He went back in his olden style, and I think he pulled out the win. So the third style, Michael was talking. He's always wanted to finish the match quick. He didn't want to go in the grueling battle like he was before. But Jerry is so good, and he impresses me. Like, Michael thought he was working Jerry, and Jerry just, act like, okay, he's going with it. And he was going inside and then rolling outside, inside. Well, Jerry timed it just right and just sunk his shoulder like he does, got that second pin. So all of a sudden, now Jerry's up 2-1. And so Michael don't have no wiggle room at this point, 0. So he gets the next win when the strap comes apart, he gets that win. Now for that third win, it's all or nothing for both guys. This is the hammer. I mean, Michael thinks he's got everything to lose, right? And Jerry's just like, he's just trying to win the hammer. So it really came down to that last match is when Jerry was fighting to the death, and he had an elbow foul. So that second elbow foul, he lifted it and hung it in the air. He didn't even get the pin. I was right there. He had to get the pin before a restart. And he didn't, his elbow was up, but he should have somehow got the pin. That's not the greatest thing to do, but when you're fighting for death, life or death, you still got to get that pin for the restart. And he never pinned it, and he never really set his elbow down. And then it was the controversy of, should this happen again, or is that your third foul because you didn't put your elbow down? And it took a while, and the things got heated. And then when they did all the reviews, I really do think they made the right choice, because Jerry, if you go back and really watch it, Jerry should have either put his elbow down or got the pin, right? And in Michael's thing, he's fighting for the hammer. This means everything to him. And I think Bart and them, they made the right choice. But I really, really, really hated to see this, because when two guys are fighting as hard as they can, who gives up, and where's the breaking point? Where is these guys' breaking point? I'm not sure we quite seen where their breaking point was, because none of them really gave up. I mean, Jerry just did that trying to get a restart, to redo it, because the strap was completely that far apart. There was a huge gap between, the strap was loose already. He just wanted another shot at it. So I seen why Jerry did that, but he didn't perfect it enough for it to pass. No one bought it. He didn't sell it. He needed that pin to sell it and get the restart.
No, I agree that WAL made the right choice as far as professionalism and enforcing the rules. I just still would have liked to see the match finish out, to find out who showed up, strength.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think Jerry, I could be really wrong. Obviously, I wasn't there, but just the way I saw it from the broadcasting point was, Jerry wasn't thinking 100% clearly. He's just trying to pin or get back to, a fair strap setup. Michael Todd did the right thing. He just stayed posted high. But hats off to both of them. Both of them showed,
Right.
I mean, commitment to not give up whatsoever. I've never seen somebody have a match and then a rematch, a year later, and both people just be so equally matched and so determined to beat the other person. I think the fact that they're 1-1 with each other, these guys are going to have a rematch again in 2020. It's got to happen. You got to figure out who's the best. They're both equal now, and it's going to be probably, just as close as these last two were. And
they might need to dedicate a whole hour to that match.
Yeah, they're going to have to make it like a 2-match series or 3-match series so they could have it done in time.
I mean, it was building up to be real epic for sure. And I think we saw some different things from Michael Todd too. Like, he didn't really drop low. I mean, like when everybody he arm wrestled high. A lot of times he went into a hook and out, and he did some different things. And I think when he tested those waters with Jerry, he realized the side pressure was a lot and had to kind of drop out a little bit more. But, I mean, I thought he looked impressive overall. I thought he looked like he was in great shape. His preparation was incredible. And I think the thing that really stood out to me was the decision point at the end. So some of the things that we taught on like the camera's mics, like what we could hear from the BR Live perspective, was, there was one point after the Jerry's foul in the 5th match, and Michael started getting a little amped up and everything. Bart said, "We're not going to end it on this. We don't want to end it on this." But of course we don't. But the reality is Michael had a very good point. And I think he might have actually been in a decent position to win the match, too. It looked like he was wearing on Jerry. But realistically, the only thing that Bart could have done at that time, to kind of save face and keep the match going, he would have had to think in the moment, and rather than, if he calls the foul and stops the match, he would have had to, at the time, say, "We're stopping this match due to equipment failure." You know what I mean? And that would have had to be an in-the-moment thing to identify that as the reason why we stopped the match. Jerry has a second foul, stopping the match due to equipment failure. The match could have been stopped probably 2 minutes prior. I mean, they were like pinky to pinky. And that was the second time in that match where Michael Todd was pulling on a strap in his fingers and that only. Due to the climbing. And we were in some very weird positions and we haven't seen Michael. You see Michael and Jerry with their arms like straight up in the air, battling for height. I mean, it was definitely an interesting match. But I know there was some talk about the WAL potentially having some new investors and sponsors in the stands, and question on how that will reflect on the league. I don't know, Sam, what was the feel like at the event, like when Michael grabbed the hammer and walked off with it?
Well, if you do have sponsors like that, guys looking to sponsor, and the big money guys show up, I think you always want to keep in mind as a competitor is, hey, we're part of this league, but we want to impress them as much as the owners of the league, because we're part of it. We sign contracts. We have as much influence. And it's our sportsmanship is in how we act. I think that we should be held very responsible to that. So for me, I'm kind of competing and showing them what I'm capable of, and being as much sportsmanlike as I can, because I would want them to sponsor me. I know the leagues has them there to sponsor them and get it to the next level, but still, they're kind of sponsoring us too, because we get paid through, the league. It is what it is, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but I think we got to be very careful as far as sportsmanship like that, and always show our best sportsmanship. And that's just for the masses too. That's how I feel as an athlete. I'm really gonna do my best in front of them and not try and let my selfishness or whatever get the best of me. But yeah, that's either here nor there as far as that goes. But, and all of us can work on it because at the heat of the moment, what are you thinking about? We're in killer mode and we're trying to win.
Right.
So,
I don't even know, like, sometimes it's sportsmanship, but I think like what you're getting at really that I'm taking away is like professionalism. When there's money involved in a sport and you're putting some type of product out there, I think being a professional is a really important thing. That's just my opinion. But I think our sport seems like it's kind of gravitating towards that fight sport game that Devon always talks about, boxing, UFC, the fighting type sports. Even in those sports, there's that sideshow aspect to it too, where there's a lot of drama, like potential drama and things like that. But I think it's definitely a thin line between, being a boxing or UFC type emulant or actually being like a WWE type scenario where there's a lot more liberties being taken. And I didn't get the feel of that like WWE or anything like that. But I mean, like the UFC comparison to what we're doing, us being like that same formatted type thing, I think applies pretty well. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of comparisons that can be made to the two sports, but and I think you're 100% right. Professionalism is a very important thing, for building a brand. And I'm not saying that was necessarily unprofessional or anything like that, but really it's all about perception, and perception is reality. So whatever was perceived by the eyes watching, can't necessarily be undone. Now, I don't know if there truly were sponsors or anything like that. That's just scuttlebutt and rumors. But, I think a lot of people were probably disappointed in the way the match ended because we didn't get to see, a pin and a clear change, or passing of the guard or, retaining of the title. So, but I don't think I think it's important. Like you said, we have to have integrity and rules. That's the big knock on the WAL right now. And I think that kind of was a step in the right direction. And the fact that they kind of, everybody kind of agreed and stood their ground on it, even if it wasn't the way we wanted the match to end, I think it was the right call.
Yeah, and from what I hear, and this is the league's growing and growing, and every time you have growth, there's always work on, and it sounds like they're going to be putting, these rules here and there, and that's how it has to go with any up and coming business like that. Every time you as much growth, you have to grow with it and change things. You got to be able to shift here and there and make those changes. And I think, and it's coming, and it's we just got to hang on there and figure out it step at a time. But as far as you were saying, what do the people think? People looking to invest. I don't know what they thought. I never talked to them or anything like that. But like you were just saying, I just hope for the best, and always trying to improve, or, don't be afraid to, show what you got as far as an athlete. And because if I was to look at them, I would be looking for them, they sponsor me, I would feel like I got to, show them what I can do and at the same time be professional.
Right. So I think that kind of transitions us into the final topic, right? Especially talking about professionalism in comparison to UFC and things like that. I don't know all the details of what happened with the weigh-in and everything. But I think we'll move on to your and Tony's match. And I think, that like I said, that kind of sums it up. And I think we can draw back to that comparison, depending on what actually happened. Because one of the biggest controversy surrounding this match is a couple of days prior, we find out that Tony's ill. He's not feeling well, and then obviously that there was some snafus with the weigh-in. And when it comes to being a professional and comparing our sport to UFC or boxing or fight sport, these are all weight-driven sports. So the weigh-ins and the weight cut are a major factor in those sports, those combat sports. How you do your cut, what you're cutting from, how you recover, all those things. I mean, there's a science to it. I've been dabbling in it myself now, so I have a little bit of experience in the past couple of years. But I mean, it's a mega huge thing for sure. And we just kind of want to turn the floor over to you, I think, and just let us know kind of what happened, because I think there was not a whole lot put out. I know Tony explained it, but like what actually transpired.
Yeah, because I mean, what we saw on WL, it said there was I think a 2-pound difference, if I'm not mistaken.
And they listed the match 174 and 172, which I thought was strange, because I thought the agreed upon catch weight was 165.
I'll tell you what, like, Tony looked massive. Tony actually, I mean, the camera angles or anything play a lot, but Tony looked like, you know, I don't want to say he was bigger than Justin Bishop, but he looked every bit of a middleweight. Like, I think his arms look bigger than my arms. I mean, he looked huge. I mean, Sam, you take it away and tell us, I mean, as far as the weight differences, but I mean, only what we saw, obviously.
Yeah, so as far as that one, it definitely there was no one planned for this. This didn't go to plan. And so Monday night about 10:30, I was in the starting to cut too, because our weigh-in was Tuesday at it was 1 o'clock, I think, scheduled for 1 o'clock. So I got the call about 10:30 from WAL saying we have an issue. And so I called him right back, and then I got told the story of how Tony was in serious trouble. He couldn't quite make the weight. And when they said like his weight was 167 or whatever, I thought, well, man, he just about made it. But they said, no, this is more serious than that he has starting to get kidney failure and a lot of pain, and that he has to start drinking water and eating, or he will not make it till the next day weigh-ins at 1 o'clock.
So what day was this?
Monday.
What time?
Like at 10:30 p.m.
Okay. So that was the agreed upon weigh-in time was what was the
Tuesday
at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with him at that point, I guess his kidneys were starting to collapse. He was in a lot of different pain. And he was close, a couple pounds. And even though those are the hardest pounds, now if he could have stayed there and made weigh-in at Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I don't think he would have made it. And I got to talk to him a little bit, and he wouldn't have made it. So he had to start drinking water and eating. So they proposed, they kind of asked me, as the champ, what do you think, this and that. Basically, he has to start eating either way or drinking either way, because he got to get fluid back into him. And they didn't exactly have it all figured out. This had just happened, but the match still needed to go on. So I agreed right then and there that to do weigh-ins Tuesday at 1 o'clock at 172. So he has 167, start drinking right away, weigh in at 172 Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So that's what we agreed upon. But then there was this thing of a catch weight, a catch weight the day of the tournament. So I said, yeah.
Wait. So they were going to weigh him in. They're going to weigh you guys in 172 on the normal weigh-in time.
Right.
It was an increase of 7 pounds, which is substantial. I don't know anything about cutting to the point of kidney failure, but I would think 7 pounds of water, being able to get back to that would probably be doable. I guess it would have been 5 pounds for Tony. So you're saying beyond that. So obviously at that point, where were you down to? Like, did you get all the way down to 165 at that point?
No, I was not quite in the middle of my weight cut, but I was like in the 160, high 160s at that point.
And you started at what? What did you start at?
I think I started out, and I ate that day lunch, and drank fluids, and I had just cut a couple pounds at that point, like 2-3 pounds. And then when we agreed to the 172, instantly I forgot about cutting. I had no reason to cut at that point. Zero. And the thing is, when they said that, I couldn't really say no to that because the match still needed to happen. At that point, they had no time to call anyone else in. The match had to get going. So for me to say no to any of that, I'd have been a douchebag.
So we have original weigh-in 165. Gets adjusted, roughly, 48 hours out from the match or even a little bit longer. Gets adjusted to 172. Now, what were you saying about the catch weight, like the day of weigh-in?
Yeah, the committee was gonna get together and get a catch weight. But once he couldn't make weight in there and he went to 172, well, WL decided you don't make weight, you don't get the hammer to pull for the hammer. So once the hammer was off the, you weren't getting the hammer, we weren't competing for the hammer, and that hurt both of us because I was going for my third hammer too. It wasn't just that, it was one-sided. At 165, I felt like I had the advantage because he had to come down to 165 and I had to cut a little bit of weight. But at that point, there was no hammer on the line. They wanted to do a catch weight. Well, Tony said no to the catch weight because risk of injury, which,
And that's we're talking about the one, what was the catch weight?
Committee was going to decide that. And this is me talking to them Monday night. They were going to decide that on Tuesday morning.
So that would be a 172 weigh-in the day prior, and then a weight cap for same day competition. But they never gave the weight cap. Like
no, there was no weight cap because Tony was worried about risk of injury from him not being able to drink and put as much fluid and food in his body as possible. Because
what was the proposed weight cap? Did they propose one, or did they only propose it to him?
I was thinking, they didn't know yet because our athlete coordinator, we had to talk to the committee, and then they were going to get back with me. Like they decide this, the committee does. So they didn't know if it would be 180 or 185 or what it would be, but they were going to try to
85. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can say this from my perspective before you move on, and I know Storm, you've cut some weight at times. I know that the most that I think I have ever come back to after a cut was like 14, 16 pounds in that range. So had he been able to get to 165, 185 rebound weight, I think would have been more than reasonable. That would have been a 20-pound water rebound or weight rebound.
I mean, Tony is somewhat known as a more well-known weight cutter. I mean, there's like Tim Lewis, Tony Katowski, some of the guys that take weight cutting a little bit more extreme. I've cut weight myself, but some of the numbers I've heard, Tim, Tony, and a few others throughout there are beyond what I'd ever put my body through.
Right. Well, I know Todd Hutchins has been through something similar, right? And I think you guys have the backstory on that. He had to make some adjustments, and I think, he missed weight, and I think there was a story of him missing weight for 195 by a pound or two. And
2016, I remember it. I even seen him walk out of weigh-ins after he missed it. Looked like absolute garbage. From what I understand is he put some fluids in himself. Was there bright and early the next day at weigh-ins, made weight, and he came and still won the right-handed middleweight hammer somehow.
Right, so I'm looking at, to me that's insane, that's crazy, but I've also watched Todd Hutchins walk into a tournament that we hosted in Harrisburg, where you were at, and he walked in, and I weighed him in. I was right there at the weigh-in with Bart, and he weighed 193 with jeans and shoes on and shit the day off, and smashed everybody. So, but that's, to me, I look at that, and we're talking about another guy who, he comes down from 215 at a minimum. That's a 20-pound weight, possibly higher. So, and And I know, I mean, I can only imagine what he puts his body through to do that. But I mean, I guess this was a little bit more of a severe situation. So what happened after the catch or the catch weight during the same day was thrown out the window? Yeah.
Well, the catch weight was thrown out the window. There was no limit that he had to be at that point. I ended up weighing in at 172. I had shoes on, fully clothed. I think he weighed in at 174. And then he had, from weigh-ins, he had about, 1 o'clock weigh-ins. Well, he weighed in like 12 or 12:30 because they even let us weigh in a little bit early because they knew the critical condition. So he had 1 o'clock till 8 o'clock the next day. So that's about 30 hours. So he was definitely by far bigger than me. I got as big as I could. I didn't have to cut weight. I was drinking water. There was nothing bigger that I could get. And I probably didn't hit over the 175 mark or with shoes, clothes on, everything. But, I was prepared for the 165, like agreed to. And I came to fight at 165, and I wasn't backing out. He was a bigger dude. The show had to keep going on. And I was committed and ready to fight either way, no matter the size of him that day. And Tony, when I got to talk to him, he said that when cutting weight, your kidneys start to fail, and how when you cut weight, you feel like drained. Everything just starts going south. And then for him to get that pains and stuff like that, what are you thinking at that time? Your family, and what's most important is not the hammer. He made the right decision. And there's no reason for him to go in the hospital. I would rather him drink water in the match. If it needs to happen, it needs to happen, right? And that's why I agreed to it, as far as competing, against him.
Now, was there any official, or, probably not official, but did he ever say what he weighed the day of the match? Did anybody have any type of idea what he was walking around before the cut? Just out of curiosity, because to me, just looking at him, I think he looked every bit of 190 pounds, maybe even more.
I would guess him to be probably about 190, maybe a little bit more, the day of the event. But honestly, Tony's about the only guy that could answer that if he got on a scale and even before his cut. I don't honestly know that. I didn't really ask him or anything like that. So yeah, Tony would probably be the guy to answer that.
That was just out of curiosity, because I couldn't imagine what weight he was trying to cut. I know him and a few others could really do some extreme cuts, and I'm not on that level of weight cutting, nor is a lot of others.
Right. Not I can only imagine what was going through his head. Having trained and prepared for a hammer match and then not being able to make it. That had to be a really tough thing. He went out on Facebook and put a post out to own it and everything. He talked about it post-match and everything. And I actually thought, when I'm thinking about, we trained plenty. So know how strong you were and feel like you the best version of you that I felt. So I actually thought coming into that match that Tony not making weight was going to bode negatively against him, meaning, what is the mental aspect of setting out to make weight and not quite getting there. I actually thought it gave you an additional edge. But he definitely looked extremely strong. You can't take anything away from the guy at all. He looked like a physical specimen. His hand looked good. His arm looked great. So tell us what he felt. What did he feel like?
Yeah, I'll have zero excuses as far as me losing. He's a beast, stronger. I tried, and I tried hard. Did get to sneak that one win on him there, but his hand is 100% there. Like, it's legit. His power, he's stronger than me. That wasn't even, that's a given. The thing is, I still feel though we showed up at 165 on Tuesday for weigh-ins. I'm telling you, how I feel very good, and I would love to redo it. I don't know how WAL is going to treat it, whether he comes back or not. In the lightweights, and I still got the hammer, but when the match, as soon as it went to 172, you know how like I started losing the edge as soon as we jumped from 165 to 172 weigh-ins on Tuesday. I was starting to lose the edge, and I knew it just because of weight and how big he was. But still at 165, anytime they'd want to replay that, I still have the hammer, but the hammer at that point wasn't that important to me. It still stung, the loss. That's not what I was thinking because the hammer was off at that point. I still think, he shows up at 165. I show up at 165. I'm telling you, it come out a different outcome. I'm really confident about that.
Right, and I mean, there's a lot of factors to arm wrestling, for sure. Weight is a big one, and I think everybody knows that. But the question then begs is, if Tony didn't make it to 65 this time, is he going to be able to make it in the future? And I mean, that's not me asking that. That's, me, thinking on behalf of the committee or Steve or whatever. And if he can make it, is it going to be a scenario where he actually lowers body mass and hangs out closer to it so that he can make it 2-3 times a season? Because I know even, being somebody who walks around at 215, but even that 10-pound that 10-pound weight cut can be, a little nerve-wracking if I get above 215. So I got to be, strict eating, and I got to make sure that my mass isn't too high. So I guess the question then is next season or the following, is he going to be a 165 puller, or is he going to be a 195 puller? Because I know the match between him and Doug was a 170 catch, and he seemed to have no problem making that. But those last 5 pounds, I guess, can be killer.
Yeah, so the hammer matches are pretty much happening at 165. What will WAL do with him? What will they figure out? And where's his next shot? I have no idea. That's totally up to them. But I know for a fact my next match will not be Tony. From what I heard from the guys that are putting things together, my next match is a different dude. But, we all
know who you're on a collision course with.
Yeah, WL, and then I don't know how they do this and how they should do it, but I think there needs to be a structural plan with the weigh-ins, because I know he was worried about injuring himself by not a weight cap, but still, for me, and I'm the champ, and I'm not trying to say this just because I'm the champ, but if I'm a 170 or 175 pulling a 195-pound guy and I am the champ, there's risk of me getting injury by pulling a guy that big, and I don't really want to do it again. I did it because it had to be done. It wasn't really my choice. I didn't think at that point. I did it for a bigger cause than just myself. But for me to pull a 190-plus dude and, in me risking the chance of me getting injured, I don't know if I'll do it again. I did it because it needed to be done. And the next thing that I think WL should maybe think about could be live weigh-ins or broadcasting it, stuff like that. I think that would be a huge, I think everybody interested in tuning in to see how the guys weigh in, all that, weight and stuff. That's just an idea. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, when you're talking about fight sports and stuff in the comparison there, I mean, we all know, you can compare it back to this match, but I think one of the biggest factors in fight sports is, the weight cut and, what is that catch weight that you have to weigh in on the day of weigh-ins, and then the day of competition, who is the bigger and most hydrated and best shaped person. I mean, that is a major, major factor, in mixed martial arts and in boxing for sure. And these guys are professionals, and when they have it down to that science, they know that their preparation camp and then their weight cut and nutrition is largely, those two things are going to decide the outcome of the competition. So I think it's a huge, huge factor. And like you say, talking back to like the live weigh-ins, I mean, that's obviously we're not on the level of boxing, but I mean, WAL has Facebook Live from their Facebook page. They can easily do a live weigh-in and a square-off. And it would allow for a little bit of gamesmanship and things like that, and some of that quote-unquote sideshow type stuff, you know, whether it's all in good fun or in strategy. I think that's something, just a little small thing that they could do that would potentially be appealing. Especially, you know, the mind games and stuff usually start at that point. What do you think about this one?
I think it'd be interesting to do the weigh-ins, you know, like you said, on Facebook Live or something, to replicate how UFC does it. But I'd also like to see a same-day weigh-in and advertise what our real weight is on the stats. And I'm not against somebody weighing way more, because my match against Jordan Sill, dude, I don't know what Jordan Sill's real weight was, but I heard rumors of this and that. He was without a doubt bigger than me. His whole stature. You know, it would be cool to show, like, you know, we both made our way to 210. You know, I don't think Jordan had a problem making his weight. You know, he's another person that cuts weight. We both made it, but to know what he weighed the day we were competing, I think would have been pretty interesting. Have us, you know, step on a scale, you know, if we're competing at. And I'm not even opposed to people cutting weight of, you know, 10, 20 pounds or whatever it is. I mean, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you're willing to sacrifice that and push yourself to those limits, you're willing to give it all, you know,
right,
to make whatever happen. I mean, right. Then you can even go to the people that are against it. They can go to the argument of same-day weigh-ins. But then you're going to see a lot.
That part of the sport is finding your niche. Find where, you know, where do you rest at? What's the best class for you? And then making a decision if you have to bulk up or you have to cut to get there. And I know Dave Rocco had said something to me about the Sam and Tony match, and he said, you know, like, he said, I put it in perspective. Imagine if the roles are reversed, and Sam's able to come in at 190 and Tony's at 172 or 170. Who wins the match? Well, I don't know who wins the match. I mean, I have an idea. But that's not, I mean, it was interesting to think of it from that perspective, because usually when I'm competing and I'm cutting weight, I'm usually the bigger person. So I don't even think about it. I just think of that as like, this is the advantage that I have to have, you know. So looking at it from that flip side is kind of interesting, putting yourself in the shoes of somebody whose opponent is maybe dropping 20 pounds to get to him. So I don't know, Sam, that's something you kind of had to live with for the past couple of years, or your whole life maybe, in arm wrestling. So maybe that means it's time for you to start eating.
I've been on like both sides of that. I was the bigger statured person. I went against Jordan Still. I was the smaller. I went against RVJ. I think me and RVJ have been kind of, neither of us really outweighed each other, you know, crazy. And, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, I still think muscle mass equals strength. I mean, if you could put on, you know, more weight, you're going to be stronger. But, I don't know, you could hold sides very well.
Right.
I just would like to see a televised, you know, weigh-in, and then know what person weighs the day of, just out of curiosity, just you know, just to kind of put it just on the screen so you really know where, you know, each person is. I think it'd just be interesting.
Yeah, I think everyone would like that. That would be pretty cool to see, fans and all. And even though, you know, like, you know, the same day weigh-ins or whatever, when the crowd's there, like before the show starts, bring everyone out, introduce them to the crowd. The crowd would feel like they knew them right before they come out and compete, just because they seen them weigh in or something. So all that stuff is all cool, and, you know, I'm just thinking about it, but, you know, it would be fun to watch. You know, even if I was just sitting at home watching, it'd be a blast.
Right, that's easily organized too. So and so like obviously Tony looked like incredibly strong. You confirmed that he looked absolutely great. He looked to be in great form as he did against Doug, but he actually looked even bigger in this. I was there for the match with Doug, and he definitely looked bigger, at least on camera. So hats off to him. I thought he was classy throughout the match. And I'm not envious of probably what he had to go through, not just physically, but having to explain it and everything too, because that would not be something I would enjoy doing in any way, shape, or form. But I know we had talked before about that gentleman from Latvia, Giannis, who you'll potentially pull next season. And I know you got a lot of respect for Giannis, and you said you thought that all things considered, his body of work, he might have been the best contender. What do you think would have happened had Giannis pulled Tony on that day under those same circumstances?
Giannis is still not as big. Me and Giannis are about the same size. And I'm telling you, me and Giannis, last time I pulled him, I came out with the win. And I can guarantee you, I've been training ever since. It's not like he outpowers me by a very little bit. And so, I mean, I really think Tony would have beat, really. But still, I'll still come back to this. Weigh-in, the day of weigh-in's the same way. Who really does have the edge, And I'm willing to go up against any one of them. Say 165 day of weigh-ins. I'll take any one of those guys on. I don't think, I don't fear that at all. Not even a little bit.
So who wins? Who wins that day? Giannis, under the same circumstance, who wins, and what is the match count?
I'm just not going to bet against Tony because I don't know. I guess I pulled you guys, the middleweight, some of the top middleweights, and I was confident in.
Right.
And I am literally the strongest I've ever been. I felt good. I had 0 injuries, no pain in my arm. And, I actually thought I had a chance. Even I knew Tony was coming in big. I still thought I had a chance of pulling it off. And I had a far off. And it was really good for me to know where I'm at on a big Tony, So, give me a chance again, and I'd be happy to, see what I can do again. But I'm still happy the way I performed. I'm not happy that I lost or anything else, but I'm still not totally crapped out about how it went, if that makes sense.
So that's one to the actual technical piece of the match. The match that you won, it looked like you initiated perfectly at the go.
Yeah.
Do you think had you taken the same setup and initiated the same way and won, the outcome might have been different?
I don't really think so because I was trying to do that almost every match, and I was trying to be fast. The fact that he might have not quite started his 100 just the same time I did might have got me that there. But say if I had to replay it over right away, the next day, you always think of how the match go. Can I replay it? I still don't know if I could have beat him. I really don't because I couldn't think of something I did. Cues man, I could have really done this different because I had my window where I wanted to go. I had it kind of all planned out, and I stuck to the plan. And he was just no excuses here. He was just definitely the stronger dude.
His top end side pressure looked really good. It didn't look like there was any real supination or drive to a wrist-to-wrist position. He seemed comfortable staying up top and going sideways there, which I thought was impressive. So we talked about Giannis a little bit. I watched him and Ray's videos and everything, and their prediction on this match, I guess, wound up coming to fruition. But Giannis, I listened to Giannis's perspective on you, and obviously Giannis is a really respectful guy and everything like that. But it's looking like that match is probably going to happen. Obviously, nothing like that's for sure, but I think that's what everybody wants to see. I think a lot of Europeans want to see it for sure too. It looks like it's probably going to happen. And I know the thing that struck me, listening to their podcast was that Giannis seemed to. I think he mentioned quite a bit that you're very good up top in your spot, but that as far as being well-rounded and having options, he didn't think that you had as many, that you were just world-class in one spot. What are your thoughts on that statement? And what are your thoughts on that potential match coming up?
Yeah, so there is a few spots that I think Giannis, he was beating me before if I let him get in there, but it was pure the fact that I didn't have quite the arm power. I was very elite in those moves, but since then I gained a lot more arm power. So the more power you have, the less you can sacrifice just little bits of being 100% perfect in your style, in your spot every time. You know what I mean? Like, the stronger you get, you can sacrifice just a little bit of that technique. And I see it. The stronger I get, you can get in these little positions that are not 100% your spot and still fight through them. And so I feel like, if we were to meet again, he doesn't really outpower me in many spots, and there's not too many directions he can go, because if he tries to come for a hook, well, I got a pretty good top roll. I can, fight against that. And then top roll, I still think I got it, against him. But and he's bigger too, and it was just going to be a good match, and I guarantee I'll fight for everything to keep that, title in the U.S. versus it, going back to Latvia, because I know they keep saying, that hammer's coming back here. Well, we'll see, and I'll fight for everything I got to keep it here.
Right. So I think we've been on the line here for a good amount of time here. Is there anything you guys want to close out with? Go on, Sam.
Give a huge congrats to everyone that even competed at 506.
Right.
Huge respect to everyone. Todd and Jerry, huge respect to both of you guys. Huge fan of both of your styles. They're, kind of one of a kind for the strength that they're both able to generate. Even respect to Tony for, coming in that strong and that big. Maybe he didn't make weight, but, he still did show up. And, respect to Sam for, still pulling the match, and, just an overall awesome show. It was, drama-filled, and entertaining.
Sometimes that drama can be a good thing. But yeah, thanks everybody who tuned in. I think the one thing that we all can probably agree on is that WAL is definitely moving the sport into the future. Not just WAL, a lot of promotions that we have going on. So I think, with every event, they get slightly better with production quality, and everything was awesome for sure. And I think that drama and controversy can add a little bit to it. It gives those of us who really care about the stuff something to talk and gossip about. So that's a good thing. I guess that's a silver lining. But if you guys don't have anything else you want to bring up, just thank you to everybody who tuned in. If you got any questions or anything you'd like to get answered from Storm or Sam or myself, or anything you'd like to see us do a video on or discuss in the future, just drop them in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Peace out.
See you guys.
All right, fellas.